Happy Women's History Month. So I am going to read a short story that's part of my one-woman show called Runway Journey. This segment is called God, I Love Her Hair. I grew up in a pretty strict household. My father is an evangelical Lutheran pastor. Although growing up, he was just the president of that evangelical Lutheran congregation. And my mother, she was a Southern Baptist. At both churches, gays, homos, dykes, all of that would be seen as deserving of the fiery pit and not deserving of acknowledgement or acceptance of God's love. Or at least that was how I interpreted those teachings when I was younger. Yet somehow I managed to maintain a closeness with my creator that could be paralleled by absolutely no other relationship on this earth. Looking back, I recall that in middle school and in high school, there were two things that were most important to me: playing the violin and my relationship with God. Summer after my sophomore year in high school, I was accepted into the infamous Interlochen Center for the Arts, a conservatory in Michigan. I was to spend 8 weeks in a cabin 300 miles away from home for the first time. I remember that first day at camp. My mother started fussing with a counselor about me not being able to swim in the lake because I was prone to ear infections. Now, while my mother was channeling her inner anxiety about me being away from home in a foreign land, I was very much ready for her to leave. We located my cabin. Now, I had only seen the outside of cabins on television, so I was pretty anxious to get inside. As we stepped in, I was in awe. So many bunk beds all in one little space. There were no real walls, just 2x4s and rough wood. It was something straight out of Little House on the Prairie, y'all. My parents finally left me to get settled in. I chose the top bunk towards the front of the cabin. My daddy taught me to always be near an exit. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, dangling my feet, when this cheery, freckled-faced girl walked in with her folks. "Hi, I'm Casey," she said. She took the top bunk next to mine. After her parents left, we chatted. She was from California, played the piano, and her elective was modern dance, same as mine. All the while she was talking, I kept staring at her hair. She had the most gorgeous, thick red hair I had ever seen. Now, my entire life, my grandma pressed my hair bone straight with a hot comb. She would take that so that it wouldn't look so thick. She would take that metal 6-ounce comb, put it on the open eye of the stove and leave it there until the flames brightened and steam rose from the metal. Then she'd slowly stroke that fire hot comb from my scalp all the way down to the very ends of my hair strands. But this girl, she's white, so there's no hot comb to thin out her tresses. Her ravishing red hair had me mesmerized. I wanted to play in it. I wanted to take my brush, the one with the boar head bristles made for Black girls with coarse textured hair like mine, and brush her locks from the top of her forehead all the way down to of her back again and again, 100 strokes like my grandma taught me as a child. That night, I had a dream about Casey. She was standing in the middle of the cabin, naked. And the other girls, they were surrounding her and pointing and chanting, fire crotch, she's got a fire crotch. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was so confused because in the dream, when the girls were chanting, I ended up jumping down to shield her body with mine while screaming at the other girls to leave her alone. When I woke up, I was in a cold sweat. God, I think I'll be just fine at camp. My parents seemed a little bit nervous about leaving me here alone for so long, but I think I'll be just fine. But can you keep an eye on them for me? I don't know how they'll handle being at home alone with my younger brother, but I'll make sure to write to them. Oh, and God, I'm not sure what's wrong with me, but when I woke up just now, my nipples were rock hard and my privates felt funny, like I got an electric shock down there or something. I hope I don't have to go to the infirmary, God. I love you. Good night. At camp, we were awakened every morning at dawn to a crackling bugler. God bless America. And forced out of our barracks to watch the flags light up the pole. Now, my first class of the day was orchestra. To be on time is to be late. To be early is to be on time. That was the mantra of the orchestra stage manager. It was his job to make sure that all of the members of the orchestra were in our seats and on time each day. He reminded me of Barney Fife. He was an older white guy with more wrinkles than a prune, who kind of shook when he talked. And the only thing he ever said was, to be on time is to be late. To be early is to be on time. After orchestra rehearsal that first day, I rushed back to the cabin to get ready for modern dance. Casey was buttoning her knickers as I raced in. I don't want my hair to get in the way during dance class, she said. Do you think you can braid it for me before we go? Now, all those years of French baiting, my Cabbage Patch Kid Rebecca's hair finally came in handy. Casey's hair was so soft and silky and so thick. It felt so comfortable and easy in my hands. And holding it, it made me feel all warm inside. I don't have any words for my feelings. I don't even know if they were feelings. Now, when senior year starts back, I go back to school, I find myself thinking about romantic relationships between boys and girls and girls and girls. I started dating Roger, who also attended my church. He was nice, but he liked to kiss a lot. Sometimes I started to get that tingle I felt with Casey, but I would pull away from Roger before it got too intense. What does that tingle mean? God, I don't exactly know what sex is, but I really hope I didn't have it with Casey this past summer. I don't think that's possible though, because in church and at school, everybody says that it's between a man and a woman. And in addition to that, I know that I'm not really a woman. I mean, I've had my period for 2 years now, but I don't really think that makes me a woman, right? And Casey definitely isn't a man. And besides, we were pretty quiet when I was braiding her hair. I overheard Don Johnson talking to a woman about making out and having sex in an episode of Miami Vice the other night, and they were making a lot of noise. So the way I figure it, in order to have sex, you have to A, be an adult, B, breathe real heavy and make a lot of noise. So I think I'm in the clear. Oh, and before I go, God, please don't tell my dad that I was sitting by the vent listening to Miami Vice. You're the best, God. I love you. Good night. It took me until last week to figure out what was really going on in that episode of Miami Vice. But it only took me that one summer to realize that there would be 3 things that would bring me serious joy in this lifetime: my relationship with my creator, God, playing the violin, and cute redheads. Thank you.